our state scholars if they can lead us the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Travis?
Here.
Ives?
Here.
Johnson?
Here.
Lewandowski?
Here.
Shaw? Navarro? Here. Lopez Caniva? Here. All right, we will start with our resolutions of the Skills USA National Champions.
Good evening, everyone. This resolution is recognizing the accomplishments of the Lockport Township High School Skills USA team. Can I please have Yasmin Alaya, Anthony Fisek, and Emma Oster please come up to the podium. All right. Whereas 3 members of the Skills USA team presented their invention virtually at the annual National Leadership and Skills Competition. Whereas Yasmin Alaya, Anthony Fisek, and Emma Oster were awarded the first place gold medal in the Engineering Technology Design Competition for their invention, development, and presentation of the intruder stopper, a device designed to quickly and easily prevent an intruder from being able to enter a classroom or office, and being the first Lockport Township High School Student Board team to win a Skills USA National Gold Medal. Whereas Yasmin, Anthony, and Emma were aided and guided by Jeff Brown, who is here this evening. Yeah, let's give him a round. Leader of the Engineering Technology Design Team, and Matt Mullins, the Skills USA advisor, and have brought honor and distinction to themselves, their family, school, and community by achieving this respected status. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that this resolution was adopted on this 19th day of July, 2021. Congratulations, students. Congratulations.
Picture?
Congratulations, guys.
Congratulations, Jasmine, Emma, and Anthony. As a matter of fact, I was reading the article today in the Herald News, and I don't know if you had an opportunity, but there was your picture there, and they had a whole page, almost full-page article on it. And yes, congratulations, and thank you for bringing that national championship to Lockport. Congratulations to Ms.
We are also pleased to introduce and recognize 2 additional LTHS students from the class of 2021 who have been named an Illinois State Scholar, Rannick Jelinek and Maximilian Pabian. Rannick and Maximilian joined the 119 LTHS students designated this year as 2021 Illinois State Scholars by the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. And Rannick is here this evening. I believe Maximilian was unable to make it, so I'd like to invite Rannick up to the podium. Whereas the following student, Rannick Jelinek, has excelled in the state of Illinois academic competition, has been named Illinois State Scholar by the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, and thereby have brought honor and distinction to themselves, family, school, and community. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, that Rannick from the class of 2021 is recognized for his outstanding academic achievement in the Illinois State Scholar Competition. Now that this resolution was passed by the Board of Education of Lockport Township High School, District 205, Will County, Illinois, on this 19th day of July 2021. Congratulations again, Rannick.
Congratulations, Ryan. Okay. At this point in time, we're going to continue with our board meeting. You are welcome to stay as students here, or you are to be excused.
That's done, parents.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Come on, Kenny.
Congratulations.
I've done my board meetings. Yeah, if you're standing, feel free to take these seats. Don't let them go away.
Okay, we have no reports.
You do.
She's right
I was trying to make room for everybody.
back in the bleacher seats.
I am, I'm the power. Right, right. I'm not used to the talking, so. Missed you guys last month, but basically, I just want to say on behalf of the membership, I would like to thank you again for the support you've given us in maintaining a safe environment, supporting staff with convenient ways to get vaccinated, and staying committed to helping educators manage providing the best quality of education possible. Last year was probably the most difficult year to be in education. Educators walked away from the school year physically and mentally spent. It's been a summer to simply try to unplug. However, this next school year is going to hold its own challenges that educators are already aware of, and as educators, our focus will be on working to get students back on track and help them stay on track with content and just overall learning skills. So we know that the priority is going to be to reconnect kids, and we understand that we're really in for another tough year, but we are all in to do what it takes to get the kids back on track. So I thank you for the support and continued support this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. Okay, IESB Governing Board report.
There's nothing really coming along until the III in November. I did attend a equity symposium. Interesting, one of the tidbits from that was that when we think of equity, we think of making people equal and inclusion, but they talked about mental health, equity in mental health. We need to make sure that the kids get the resources for the mental health. So,
Foundation Board report. Mr. Ives.
Well, it's July, so it's usually a very quiet time for the foundation board, but in the activity. Last month we did our big golf outing, but unfortunately last week we got the resignation from Kate Dean, our executive director. She has only been here a few months, started off great, doing a lot of great work, but she got an opportunity that she couldn't pass up, so she's talking to John McBride. So Friday will be her last day. So that search will start again. So, but other than that, there's nothing else to report.
Thank you. Legislative report.
Yeah, very briefly, it's been quiet. There are, I don't know how many bills in the House and Senate that passed the House and Senate have not been signed by the governors, so we're waiting. Sometimes what happens with those education bills is after they're passed, 60 days goes by, and there's an expiration on needing the governor's signature, so perhaps that's what's going to happen. So we're waiting. Some of those are the ones that I briefed the board about, include things like extending the age of transition students 2 additional years. And you'll see later in the agenda, we're already doing the planning for that long. The state of Illinois had an opportunity to talk about this on Fox News the other day. The state of Illinois was the first state in the union to mandate the teaching of Asian American history Governor Pritzker signed that into law on Friday, July 9th, as an Asian American parent. Very happy. Just, happy to see my daughter's history is going to be, part of their curriculum and their lives. So, cool thing. Centers for Disease and Control released on Friday, July 9th, excuse me, new guidance, updated guidance for schools opening. Interesting thing happened immediately, about an hour later, the Illinois Department of Public Health adopted those as well, which is unusual because last year there was some dissonance between those two organizations, and then I also did an interview about that later in the afternoon as well. So people will obviously be spending a lot of time today talking about that implication. So that's what's going on in Springfield.
Thank you. All right, we have no communications and then no freedom of information. All right. Let's see. All right. We have public comments on agenda topics. A designated portion of the board meeting is set aside to hear comments on topics listed on the agenda. A person wishing to speak must sign in and provide all information requested on the sign-in sheet, including the agenda item they will be addressing. The board president will call speakers up by name, announcing their time to comment. A time limit of 5 minutes per speaker per agenda topic will be imposed. The purpose of requesting such information on the sign-in sheet is to obtain correct spelling of the name of the speaker and contact information, which will be used for necessary board follow-up. And we can start with Ms. Tricia Hayward.
Good evening. My name is Tricia Taylor. I have been a resident of Lockport for almost 18 years now. Both of my daughters have been raised here. They both will be attending LTHS this upcoming school year. I'm hoping that by what I'm saying this evening will not cause issues for my daughters from this point forward at District 205. But as their mother, I need to do what I feel is right and what is in the best interest of my daughters. To say that the last school year and a half has been a roller coaster ride is putting it lightly. I appreciate the effort that District 205 has put into keeping learning a top priority. Tonight I'm wanting to speak on behalf of all the parents, faculty, and most importantly, all the students that feel the same way that I do. We believe that it is time to unmask our students. Or at least let it be a parent's or family's choice to keep their children masked or not. Please let's make District 205 optional. A lot of us believe that it is unfair and unjust and still have our kids masked in school, when if you really think about it, it doesn't make much sense. It really is no different than groups of people gathering at carnivals such as Canal Days and Homerfest, where literally everyone was on top of each other with hardly any wearing a mask. Or like sporting events where people are sitting elbow to elbow, or any other event that is now open to full capacity with masks being optional. So now that we can go back to doing all these things, the students now have to go back to school, which is a controlled environment with social distancing, with monitor safety issues that are put in place, and you are still wanting us to comply with our kids going back to wearing masks? The CDC and the ISBE has just now set guidelines, not mandates. Guidelines to let vaccinated children come to school in masks, while the unvaccinated still have to wear one. Again, guidelines, not mandates. Another viewpoint that I would really like for the Board of Education to take into consideration. My children and I have been diagnosed blood clotting deficiency. Our hematologist, who obviously has a medical degree, has advised us getting the COVID vaccine. For us, the risk of getting the vaccine versus not getting the vaccine is higher than any benefits would be. My hematologist has told me that most of our patients that have received the COVID vaccine are now throwing dangerous and life-threatening blood clots. More interestingly is that those patients have not had one blood clot since they started on blood thinners. I'm sorry, but with that information and her advisement for my girls and I, we will not even consider getting the COVID vaccine anytime soon. I will not risk my girls throwing a life-threatening blood clot like a pulmonary embolism just because this vaccine is being heavily pushed on everyone. Yes, the chances may be small from developing some of these side effects, but the chance of us getting COVID and becoming deathly ill from COVID are even smaller. So I'd rather take that chance. My point is this. I'm sure there are other students and families in similar situations as us. I'm sure there are other medical conditions that are preventing our other students from being able to receive the COVID vaccine. So on top of these health conditions that these kids have to face on a day-to-day basis that they did not even ask for, are now going to feel even more discriminated against because they now have to be masked. To mandate masks for a student that medically cannot receive the COVID vaccine or any student at all is not right. Don't continue to punish the children with health conditions when they already feel like they are being punished with a lifelong disease as it is. And I can speak from personal experiences. Can you just imagine the issues and problems that District 205 is asking for if you would indeed either one, make the unvaccinated still wear masks, or two, separate the vaccinated from the vaccinated? You will for sure create a great divide. Again, us parents should be making the final decision to mask or not to mask. Let's follow in other district footsteps and making District 205 mask optional, just like many other school districts are doing. We, meaning the families in District 205, have done our part. We as parents and families have done what we have been asked to do. We have socially distanced our children. We have masked our kids even when we didn't want to. And we even insisted in homeschooling our children. Now it's time for District 205 to do what we are asking of you. I understand that you all are in a tough position. You will never be able to make everyone happy, but with giving families the right to choose, you will come close. Let's bring back control to the parents because that's where it truly lies. The COVID vaccine is not a black and white issue. There are many great areas as well. It is not for everyone. It sure isn't the end all be all.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay. With all that being said, how can you make masks mandatory in the district when other schools are not? We all need to remain united across the board. If some schools are mandating and others are not, you have to ask yourself, where and who is following the science? Who is really in control? The parents. The parents need and should be in control and making decisions for our children. I want to thank you for listening to me this evening, and I hope that you take into serious consideration for the things that I had to say. Enough is enough. It is time to unmask our kids. Thank you.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry,
I'm the one who dropped it.
sorry. Next we have Mr. Philip Nagel.
Well, my name is Philip Nagel. Definitely can't compete with that, right? I'm not a resident of this district. My sons don't go to school here. I'm here just because no kid deserves to be masked in Illinois, right? Parents should be able to make We've seen kids go to school and get masked this last year. We've seen some kids, remotely learning. My son unfortunately had to live in his room for the last year and a half, which isn't healthy for a kid. I've talked to so many parents that their kids were forced to wear a mask. And psychologically, what does that do to them? I don't think any of us are in a position to really say what it does to them because no one sees the long-term studies of how a mask affects a child, especially a younger child, where there are suggestions where under 7 years old that breathing in their CO2 for an 8-hour period, how does that affect the development of their brain? I mean, no one knows, right? So, we got to look at everything here when it comes to making this type of decision. And, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone on this board, right? But, who knows the health of their children better than the actual parents? Nobody does. I've talked to doctors on school boards, I've talked to a plethora of people, right? But nobody actually knows what their child's going through. No one knows how to make that decision from, what's better for my child than the parents of the child. And so, I'm not here to make a scene or anything like that. I'm here to actually, implore you guys, make the decision to allow the children's parents to decide what's best for their children this year. As the previous speaker just said, all of them are all over the state. Talking to other kids, I came from a fair yesterday, and no one had masks on. And I come to the school board meeting tonight, I look around, no one has masks on. No one's wearing a mask thing, but if you are concerned, you have the option to wear a mask. I completely support that. And, I can give you facts that are, debate, you can debate a fact, you can debate, okay, a mask technically has what? The threat count on a mask is about 1,000 times larger than the actual virus coming through it. So, I mean, we have to take a common sense approach to this. I mean, we have masks, and if it makes you feel comfortable, by all means wear it. But we can't, if you don't want, if you're a parent and you don't want to see your kid mask anymore, we have to be able to give the parents that choice to make that decision for themselves. And I seen a post the other day which was really powerful to me. It's really short, and it said it was an 18-year-old that just graduated, and she said, okay, she's like, this last year and a half, I lost 20 pounds, and I was told that I had to sacrifice for the better good of the country, or the better good of the state, country, whatever you want to call it. She said, I didn't sacrifice. She said, I was a sacrifice. And how true is that? We have put an unnecessary burden on these children that was never theirs to carry. It wasn't. It was placed on them through fear. There's a 99.99% chance of survival, right? So I mean, I want to just say, okay, enough's enough. I will tell you this too. There is another variant coming. There's a Delta, and then there'll probably be a Foxtrot, Zulu, Echo, whatever. They're going to keep coming. They're not going to end. We all can see that. We all see that clicking here, right? They're coming. So I implore you just to look past all the noise in the room and make the decision. And when this next variant comes, okay, great, it came, but the kids are still doing what they do, right? The kids are still here. The kids want to learn. We can't keep putting this on them. It's not fair to them. And it drives me absolutely crazy to walk in and see kids masked while we walk into a board meeting with no masks on. Everyone walks in. Everyone, everywhere. No, there's no masks. I go to Walmart, there's no masks. But then, guess what, son? Once you walk through this door, now you have the virus is here. So, this is the virus, you can't leave the school. In some states, you can look around the states, right? Some states, COVID tends to states, behind state lines in certain states around the country, right? So, I mean, it has a mind of its own, but it doesn't mean it has to be in the school, right? So I think, it's time you guys, we're asking for courage, right? We're asking for courage from all you guys to stand up and just give us across the state. Like I said, my sons don't go here. And my sons, neither one of them will be masked this year. They're both going to a university that for the last 6 months, I think, has put out guidance that they're not going to mask the kids. But that's besides the point. It matters because all the kids, I don't want to just send my kids to a university because I can afford to send them.
30 seconds.
Okay. I can afford to send them to a university, right? I can afford that. Not everyone can. People need the public school districts. And how horrible does it feel for all you all to see the kids walk in matched? You can't see their faces no more. How many kids can you say that have a new teacher that teacher doesn't even know what they look like? It's sad. It truly is sad. So we need courage from y'all. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, next we have a Mr. Ryan Johnson.
Love you. Love you all. I'll spend the first half of my time reading a letter from Waco, Illinois, a letter being shared with hundreds of school districts across the state, and then conclude with my own view. Dear local boards of education, superintendents, and school administrators, given the nature of the COVID-19 pandemic, parents across the nation are asking, will my right to make decisions about what's best for my child's health be respected? As many families in the state of Illinois await word from their school in the 21-22 school year, we hope and pray for prudent discernment in all decisions affecting our children. Represented parties in this letter implore local school boards to survey the whole of their community as soon as possible on expectations for the coming school year versus a one-size-fits-all approach to all of Illinois. We respect the integrity of our democracy and autonomy of school boards who are elected to work in the best interest of their stakeholders. On behalf of Illinois parents, advocates, and taxpayers, we support Illinois' personal and parental rights to make decisions in the best interest of their children regarding facial masking, viral testing, health records, and/or use of injunctions. We request that school boards respect that guidance from the CDC, ISBDA, and IDPH does not equate to mandates. Under Title 23 of the Administrative Code, the Illinois State Board of Education is not in a position to force, reward, or threaten any school district or local board of education regarding said agency guidance. That same rule applies to ISBE on any stipulated guidance. As representatives of thousands of Illinois parents and taxpayers, we request that your leadership reflect support of parental consent, civil rights, and all liberties protected by the laws, regulations, and Constitution of Illinois and the USA. Should any school district, personnel, and/or agent enact policies, guidelines, or protocols that are in violation of any law, right, or protection of Illinois students, legal action may be taken. We trust that Illinois school districts and administrators will emulate the leadership of many districts to facilitate a return to normalcy for your students, your staff, and communities after more than a year of sacrifice. Godspeed as you draft and enact the 21-22 school year policies. So more and more school districts in this area have now officially gone to mask optional. There's about 125 schools in all of Illinois now, and I trust this board will make the same correct decision. But this needs to be a real hardline decision. This can't be superficial, with the ability to revoke that 2 weeks in the school year if Silver Cross the or by putting backdoor pressure on certain student groups, like athletes. We've seen in other districts the attempt to hold athletes hostage with relentless pressure to vaccinate or else mask up, quarantine, and it will make your life hell. So again, I implore a hardline decision, optional. My 14-year-old just went for her physical, and while the doctor asks about vaccination status, is not recommending or pushing it in any way, and a very highly respected pediatrician. There's just not enough long-term effects known yet on this experimental jab, and my children will not be used as test subjects. But it's not just the mass vaccination issue we need to discuss. It's the testing and quarantine discussion we must make sure we don't forget. We heard at the last meeting the school signed a contract with a testing firm for this upcoming year. Like I said last month, let's cancel that contract. The tests are not reliable. The tests are not being used in the way they were designed for, per the confession of the actual inventor, and only 6 people should be getting tested.
Yes.
And follow the money. Follow the money to see who is profiting off these tests.
Yeah.
What does this contract look like? Who vetted the contract? Who's making money on this? Always follow the money and stop testing healthy children. Quarantines. It was confirmed a month ago at this meeting that for the thousands of quarantine cases Lockport had last year, there were 0 cases that came back positive. Again, never in history have we isolated and quarantined healthy children. No more 14 days, no more 10 days, no more different rules for vaccinated versus unvaccinated, no more anything, 0. No more quarantines unless you're sick. It has been proven and confirmed by the WHO there is no such thing as asymptomatic spread for this virus.
Yes.
Children with no symptoms are not spreading this. Test and quarantine sick people only. It doesn't get more common sense than that. Finally, the board talked last time on risk mitigation and liability insurance. Your lawyer should be advising you that your risk is not with the virus, since children have a 99.98% survival rate and almost no cases get traced back to schools. What kind of risk is this from your point of view? They should be advising you that your risk is in the adverse reactions with the vaccine, and the school is taking a very aggressive approach in pushing this vaccine propaganda to the students in almost every formal communication that comes out. Parents aren't taking it anymore. Look at the people showing up here versus a month ago. The middle school board meeting a month ago, which was the day after this one. Very fiery, with almost 50 parents showing up and many giving amazing, passionate speeches.
Excuse me, sir, 30 seconds.
Thank you. 500 people at an Illinois Patriots rally yesterday at Bankston's Farm and Road. Grassroots movement for standing up for freedom and choice in all aspects of life. The momentum of people standing up and fighting back is amazing to see, and this medical tyranny will end. We're seeing it locally. We're seeing it around the world, in Australia, France, England, Greece. People are waking up and fighting, so please don't try and stop this. Nothing can stop it this time.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next we have, I believe it's Ms. Kuza?
Agnieszka Kuza.
I would like to apologize in advance. English is not my first language. I was born and educated in Poland. I came here 24 years ago. I came from the communist country, and I hope I don't have to ever relive the life that I had to live 20 years ago. This is the greatest country ever. I love America ever since I came here. I respect all the people here, all nationalities here. I have worked here for the last 5 years at the private school, working with the very vulnerable population, children with autism and various intellectual disabilities. I would like to say that these kids will not put their masks on, and they will not keep them on for any period of time. And I applauded them from the very beginning. Thank God that they were doing it. I asked my son recently whether he is looking forward to coming back to school. He just starting sophomore year this year. And he said, "Mom, no." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I don't even know anybody that is in my classroom. I have never seen their faces."
So sad.
Excuse me, can you take your mask off so I can hear you?
Oh,
Thank
take
you.
your mask off.
The only reason why I'm wearing my masks is out of respect to everybody, because I did not get vaccinated and I am not planning on getting vaccinated. Also, when if they want me to get vaccinated, they will have to hold me down, that they can jam me. My son alone, not shot for my son. He is the only child that I have, and I will do anything for him. I will jump in fire, jab me, like I said 100 times, leave him alone. He's got his whole life ahead of him.
That's right. Amen.
So with this being said, I'm not gonna stand here and just babble on and on, but I would like to, I'm hoping that you guys are not gonna separate the students by maskers and unmasked in the school. I don't want the kids to feel disrespected and disdain and all kinds of awful words, you know? I don't want other kids to be pointing the ones who are unvaccinated. You know what? That you are the reason why we are gonna be getting sick. So I'm just hoping that that you guys have enough in you to be courageous and just treat everybody the same way.
Right.
So that's all I'm going to say. I'm just looking forward to the great year for my son and all the kids here at the Lockport. Like I said, a lot of the private schools have been open and they are just doing great. A lot of the schools who could teach disabled kids, they've been doing great as well. So it's time for Lockport High School to be reopened fully, and the kids come to school, sit in those desks, and that they get the education that they deserve.
Thank you, Ms. Michelle. Next we have Mr. James Shapes.
Wow, that was good, right?
Yeah. Awesome.
Unbelievable. So, I'm not a professional public speaker. I'm just a parent, and my kid goes to school here. All these people you see here, most of these people aren't public speakers, okay? But they're doing this because, number one, we're concerned about our kids, okay? So, my main concern is, I understand that the superintendent is going to recommend to the board that masks won't be mandatory. So I'm hoping that you consider that. I have a child who is a junior. Pulling him out of school is not an option because he is all AP classes. He was recently very upset that his GPA went down to a 4.3. So he's trying really hard to do his best. And it would be really irresponsible of me to try to pull him out of school because he, just a little personal thing, he had a really bad skull fracture when he was younger. So whenever he has headaches, you can understand that we're really concerned. I mean, that's a scary thing when a kid like that gets a headache. So when he started wearing the mask, he come home with severe headaches. So we got an exemption for him. He wore the shield. So, right, so he would go to the hybrid, so he was only going, a couple days a week or whatever. Well, he started getting headaches with the shield too, which is concerning. So I don't know the science behind that. I don't know if it's a strap around his head or if he's getting, CO2 levels, higher. He's also got asthma. Other than that, it's great. But it's just, we're just really concerned about our kids, and that's why we're here. I've never done this before. My first meeting was 33C, and I understand that they won't mandate the mask there, so I'm really happy about that. Because I did pull my kid out of school for that. And we did homeschool all last year, and I think he's really sad and wants to go back, to hang out with his friends and whatnot. So, but I think we've all seen some of the studies that have come out recently. Did you all see the Journal of American Medicine study about the CO2 levels? So,
I have it here.
right? So we saw that study. It just came out, and the study was done in Germany. Here's the bottom line. If masks are going to be mandated here, what I need you to do is I need you to please tell me what you're going to do to mitigate the chance of hypercapnia in our children.
Right.
How are we going to prevent the elevated CO2 levels if masks are mandated? Will there be daily testing to each student, access to oxygen levels versus the CO2 in their bloodstream? I mean, I've also attached the links to some of these studies here if you want to go and take a look at them. There was an OSHA study in here talking about elevated CO2 levels. The study that was done in Germany showed that the elevated CO2 levels in kids were sometimes as high as 5 times the normal acceptable limit. It also can cause confusion, headaches, lack of concentration. So my main thing is, if you're going to mandate the mask, I need to know, again, what the mitigation strategy will be for the hypercapnia, as it is more likely than COVID-19 to harm my kid.
Right.
I mean, my kid is more likely than he is to get harmed by COVID-19. I mean, he has a better chance of dying from getting struck by lightning while simultaneously getting eaten by a shark. COVID-19 and dying from that, right? So that's really all I have. And I implore you guys to understand that these people here, they're not conspiracy theorists. They're not anti-vaxxers. They're not crazy. We're just concerned about our kids, really. Okay? So thank you.
All right, next we have a Miss Patty Colwell.
Hello?
Sorry.
Don't start my time yet. Love you.
I wait till you start talking.
Good evening. I want to start off by thanking the board for your hard work. I know that this has been a very difficult time trying to make decisions for our students. I want to point out some inconsistencies with what is going on. I once had a bone marrow transplant. One of the rules I had to follow was to avoid people who had been recently vaccinated. Why? Because vaccines shed can harm people with compromised immune systems. So I find it ironic that the news tells you to go get a flu shot to protect people who can't have it. That's weird, right?
Yep.
All right. I have a book. It's a menopause book. I have a granddaughter at school and a daughter. Or a medal. All right. So as
Estrogen replacement therapy was first conceived in the late 1950s, the era of better living through chemistry. We know what happened with that. These were the heady, innocent post-war years when enthusiasm for controlling the natural environment with chemicals was matched only by the eagerness of the chemical companies to find a profitable use for the products. Concurrently, pharmaceutical companies were discovering the financial gains to be made by a similar philosophy. For every human ailment, there is a drug that will cure it. Plastics, pesticides, and antibiotics are going to save the human race. Both the chemical and pharmaceutical companies were learning the value of cleverly disguised public relations campaigns in which articles extolling the virtues of a product were planted in magazines and newspapers. The media went along with this approach and still do, reaping huge benefits in advertising dollars from these same companies. The public naively believed, and still do, that if they read it in a major publication, it must be true. Few industries have reaped more benefits from this public naivety than pharmaceutical companies. The practice continues unabated to this day. The major women's magazines and the nightly TV news shows our virtual pipeline of information for drug companies eager to push their products under the guise of editorial neutrality. This book was published in 1996. It's much worse now. After this, in the late 90s, is when they passed that law. I did go look. Which one were they? We're one of two countries where they allow the pharmaceutical industries to advertise, and you see it. It's just a constant stream of mess, selling you stuff. All right. So there's that. Okay. So what about herd immunity? How can there be herd immunity if there are booster shots? Booster shots specifically mean that there's no herd immunity when it comes to immunizations. That's why they're now talking about a third shot. Doesn't it make sense? Think about that. They talk about herd immunity, but if there was really herd immunity, why would there be booster shots? Do you know why the pharmaceutical industry has no liability with vaccines? Because in the 1980s, they had so many lawsuits, they were going to go out of business. So they went to Congress and they told them, we're going to go out of business unless you can help us. And you need us because in case there's like an anthrax scare or whatever. So, you're going to need shots right away for everybody. So they passed the 1986 Act. There's actually a documentary on it. You can see how it passed. And so here we have a product where there's no liability. Recently, a close family member came down with COVID, and after 10 days of it getting worse and worse, instead of going to the hospital, we found a doctor to prescribe ivermectin. Do you know what the insert said? That it was not allowed to be used for COVID. So the doctor had to prescribe it for scabies. That doctor is a hero. He can lose his license. But he has morals and is more interested in saving lives. Think about so they scare us. There people are dying of COVID. Because they're going in and the doctors aren't allowed to prescribe it. I brought some studies, an older one and a newer one, and I have enough for everybody. You can check them out. And I do have one more. There's a whistleblower from the CDC. This came out in 2014. Dr. Thompson. The CDC, media, and vaccine manufacturers are good at scaring policymakers and parents. Consider that Dr. Thompson told Dr. Hooker in May 2014 how the CDC and the media loves to hype measles outbreaks in order to scare the public. Dr. Thompson essentially predicted the hype and fear which surrounded the measles cases in early 2015 in California at Disneyland. And do you know what happened after that? They mandated it because they say everybody's scared. They scare people.
30 seconds, please.
Oh, okay. All right. Finally, any study that has any ties to the pharmaceutical industry is not a study. It is an advertisement.
Yep.
And if you don't know what to believe, maybe we should do our own studies here at school, like a science project on the safety of masks, that they can see for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I know that you you were the last one, but someone's written on the last page here, and it says Miss Christina, but all you wrote.
That would be me.
signed on the wrong page.
That would be me.
Oh, it was signed on the wrong page?
No, it's,
Oh,
no,
I-
it's
So
a-
there's 2 more.
Give everyone a chance.
There's 3 more.
I just saw you
yesterday. Give everyone a chance.
You're on another agenda item, Steve.
I'm supposed to be on this one, I put the wrong place.
Give everyone a chance.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll just go there.
All right, Christina.
I'll yield my time to Steve then.
Yeah.
you all go.
All right,
No, no,
Christina,
no,
go ahead.
I'm on there, you go first.
Get on up there, baby.
Get up there, girl.
Well, let's see.
She's a hard act to follow.
She is a hard act.
So you better go before her.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Miss Christina.
She should go.
I'm not everything over right.
Oh.
Go up this thing.
Mr. Bailey, what we're going to do is, we're going to follow protocol here. We're going to have Miss Christina MC, is that her?
Yeah.
We're going to, is that your last name,
Yes,
MC?
that's my last name.
Okay, all right, we're going to have her go first, but can you state your address too for the record? Did you get mine?
I'll do
On the way
it
out.
after.
Step down,
Right,
step down. Steve, step down.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Christina. I'm from Illinois Patriots. I have 2 kids in 33C. I have a son that attended here at Lockport. I actually came today. I have to give you a little backstory. We started a page for parents that are concerned about masks, CRT, Marxist curriculum in their schools, and the new sex ed bill. Within a month, we have over 17 members. Last night, yesterday, we had an event with over 500 people. I can tell you every day I'm speaking to hundreds of people. This has turned into almost a full-time job. Sometimes I'm up till 2 o'clock in the morning answering people's questions and talking to attorneys, and we have all kinds of people. Awake Illinois is a great organization. We're all on that. All of our logos are on that. Each logo is a group with over 1,500 people. This is growing into an insane thing here. And I actually came here today to commend you guys for not having the woke Marxist curriculum in your curriculum. I did find that out, and I applaud all of you for keeping it. And I really hope it stays that way. I do want to say, you were saying something about, I can't understand you with the mask, but, and this is, it makes me think of my kids in school with masks and their teachers with masks, not being able to understand anything they said. But I did hear equality, and I heard, or equity, and I heard mental health. Let's talk about mental health, because every day I'm getting email or messages from moms and dads and aunts and uncles about kids that they're scared are going to kill themselves. And it's because they can't socialize. These masks are not good. The social distancing is not good. And everybody has said so much. I don't even have anything else to add because it's been so amazing. I do want to add, because an attorney posted something today, because 33C went maskless. Okay, so if you guys don't go maskless, I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Like, doesn't make any sense at all. All the surrounding districts are going maskless. So I'm going to assume you all are going to do the right thing and go maskless. Yes. Mask optional. I'm sorry, because I have no problem with anybody wanting to wear a mask. I don't know why everybody has a problem with our kids not wanting to wear masks. I pulled my kids out of school last year and homeschooled them because they did not want to wear masks. They flourished. I have a son that has an IEP and couldn't read very fluently. By the time he was done, he was a fluent reader. He was reading me the 1716 report, or the 1776 report. So he did amazing. Okay, so as far as buses, because this is a fight that I'm going to have with 33C. Because they're still mandating, or whatever, it's a guideline, it's not a mandate, but they're making them wear masks on buses. Under Section 361 of the Public Health Service Act and 42 Code of Federal Regulations 70.2, requirement for persons to wear masks while on transportation hubs. Basically, it says this is for country to country, state to state. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, unless you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, the buses here in Lockport and Homer don't go out of state, right? It's staying in Homer, Lockport, they don't go out of state, they're not traveling out of state lines. So this, and this is from an attorney that has fought Pritzker over masks and won. So I'm just pointing that out. Hope you guys will make the right decision. And you know, I'm representing a lot of your constituents. I have had a lot of people ask me to come and speak. I currently don't have a kid in this district right now. I have him in 33C. Next year he will be here. I commend you guys for not the curriculum. I can't tell you how much that makes me happy, because it's happening all over this state, and it is disgusting, and it is turning our kids into anti-American and hating our country, and we're not going to have a country. We will be Cuba, we will be Venezuela if this doesn't stop. So thank you guys, good job. I hope you guys make the right decision. You guys.
I don't know, I gotta wait till, I gotta wait to see.
All right, Mr. Seafield.
My name is Steve Collins, and I'm here as the chairman of the Homer Township Republican Organization. We have 408 taxpayers in our group, and they're all actively involved with this stuff that's going on in their school districts. And we asked Zion Navarra if he would get us the curriculum and materials that the kids are being taught here, and he did. And then we had people go through all of it, and thank God there was nothing with critical race theory or 1619 or none of that junk. So we're here, I'm here to say thank you guys. You're doing a good job on that. And the other thing now, you're going into the mask. And I get it, you're probably going to just say it's optional, which is good. But there's going to be a lot of things going to happen in the future, because our Illinois governor tries to put the pressure on our heads and push us down. That's what all this stuff is about, control. It's not about anything else but control. So like we have the Illinois Patriots, there's a lot of other groups. There's about 5 different groups with thousands of people that the Homer Township Republicans, which is Lockport, everything. We have a lot of Lockport people, Homer people, then we got some people in Lamont and some people like over New Lenox and Joliet. But most of them are Homer, and that's a big portion of your school. Well, what you got to realize is just because the state of Illinois says there's a law, you don't have to obey it. The Illinois school thing, I've got the letters, ISP, whatever, they say you got to do something, you don't have to do it. Everybody thinks because the king says you must do it, you must do it. The reality is, no, you don't have to. You can tell them you're not going to do it. And that's something everybody's got to really think about. Just because somebody says you can do it, if it's wrong, you can't do it, or you're going to go to hell. God's going to punish you terribly if you do stuff that you know is not right.
That's right.
And when you're on a board, you're held to a way higher level, because people look up to you on the board. And if you're going to be on the board and then force things that you know are wrong, that's not good. That's, you just can't do it. But I'll give you a good example. At the county level, I'm on the county board also. I'm on land use, and we at the county board refuse to implement the state fire codes for sprinklers on commercial houses. Why? Because it could cost anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000 a house. So we're not going to do that. The fire department says you have to because that's the law. And if it's the law, you got to do it, right? That's what you guys are experiencing. The king, JB, says it's the law. And then he sends all the rest of them, all the rest of them minions that are under him, to tell you, you must do this. Well, you tell them no. And what can they do to you? Just like with us. We tell the fire department, you want to enforce it, do it yourself. So now they have to take somebody to court if they want to enforce it. We're not going to do it. We'll let you move in your property without that from the county side. But now if the fire department wants to, God bless them. That's their problem, not ours. You guys have the same choice in a different way, in a more important way. This is our kids' lives.
Yes.
You know, so when you guys think about stuff, and you know it's wrong, and I know you got everybody on the board mostly. I don't know, I don't really know you, I'm sorry, Dr. John. But the other ones I've met, you know, and the bottom line though is, if they say they're gonna cut your funding, all right, then tell them, cut the damn funding, who cares? The people in the district would rather have the funding cut and stay with kids. So now if they say you cut the funding, now what happens? I'm sure you'll figure it out. There's lots of ways to figure it out. But you can't have children have problems in school, especially with dumb things like masks. And you guys are doing great with critical race theory and 1619 and all that other junk.
Steve,
But
30 seconds.
that's it?
No, 30 seconds.
Oh,
It's gotta give a warning.
I get carried away. But what you gotta do is, please, really consider that you don't have to do what the king says. You do what's right for these children.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Belch. That's all. Okay.
Oh, we have one more, we have another one.
Oh, we're off the clock.
I'm sorry? No, we have one more.
There's another speaker here.
Yeah, we just have one speaker on the items on the non-agenda topics. Are you Mr. Marino?
That's correct.
You're later in the agenda. So we come later in the agenda if it's not on the,
What does that mean?
there's another section in just a little bit
Yeah.
for non-agenda topics. So,
Thank you. Going on to our agenda, we have the approval of the regular meeting minutes, which was June 21st, 2021. Have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second. It's been motioned by Mr. Eisen, second by Dr. Shaw. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? All right, hearing none, roll call.
Johnson?
Yes.
Navarro?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Lewandowski?
Yes.
Ives?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes. Next, we don't have no closed session meeting minutes. Next, we have the approval of board member expenses and employee travel expenses. Travel limits for July 2021. Need a motion for that? So moved. I guess, it's been motioned by Dr. Shaw and second by Mr. Travis. Are there any questions to that? Hearing none, roll call.
Navarro?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Lewandowski?
Yes.
Ives?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes. Next, we have the approval of the treasurer's report for June 2021. I'll make that motion. It's been motioned by Lopez Caniva, second by Mrs. Travis. Are there any questions to that treasurer's report? Roll call.
Ives?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
Navarro?
Yes.
Lewandowski?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lopez Caniva?
Yes. Okay, next we have our superintendent update.
All right. Well, presently, I opened up my update with, most since July 9, sort of very quick day. I mean, almost everybody, all these fine folks, everyone's eyes, and we'll talk a little bit later in the agenda about July 19, July 9th. I don't know why I keep on saying 2019. With that release of those updated guidance from the CDC and the quick adoption by the state of Illinois. We are, as I shared last month, we're in a pilot with SHIELD in Illinois on board members. SHIELD is the testing protocol, about 60,000 people on the campus at University of Illinois, that really was instrumental in keeping the positivity rate below 1% the entire year, long before there were vaccines. SHIELD is developed and it's maintained by the University of Illinois. That's its origin and its creation. We're looking at SHIELD right now, piloting it with band camp members and piloting it with athletes. And again, it also, just as I reminded the board, a parent has to provide consent if you're 18 or younger. Really for 3 reasons. 1, so we can always have a good sense of how much COVID is on our campus. Just what is the level? Is it present or not? 2, provide a process for unvaccinated students to avoid lengthy quarantine. I'll talk later. Quarantine remains a part of the CDC guidance. We'll have to come to grips with what's mandated and what is not mandated. As people had mentioned earlier, the quarantine is still a mandate. And then 3, it actually provides vaccinated students and staff members who have COVID-like symptoms an opportunity to rule that out and say, I've got a cold, but I don't have to quarantine because I'm negative. On a personal level, I decided to be the first SHIELD tested person in District 205 and had a stroke of luck. Because the weekend before I took my SHIELD test, I attended an event in the city of Chicago, people all over the nation, and learned later that there was a fairly serious COVID outbreak at that event among superintendents attending that event. I learned on Wednesday that I was negative for COVID, which gave me quite a bit of peace of mind. Kind of worked in that personal way. A few other things in my superintendent report. Congratulations to, I believe, Janine Wheeler is sitting behind me. Eric Slager is right over there. Deanna Gregorich. They received one of 85 districts in the nation, 2 in the state, from the National School Public Relations Association, a distinction, Gold Achievement distinction just recently. So a major accomplishment, really sort of shows the board's effort to improve communication and put those assets to work. Mr. Guevara made this point. Summer's also a time where people are doing curriculum. We're doing a lot of curriculum work as a District 2. You received last month the District Management Group partnership that we did to take a look at the resources we provide for struggling students. We spent quite a bit of time last week, working on a timeline for how that will actually look for students over the next 5 years. So you'll see that final product in August, how we're actually going to sequence that out. If you haven't noticed, it's also a super busy time for building projects, cleaning, maintenance. We're really looking forward to hopefully maybe in August, or we can do a public tour if you really want to look around our facilities. The project for a library tech hub on the center of the building can really come together, doing some major work right here in the cafeteria on the flooring. Things are getting fixed, things are getting rebuilt, putting things in trim. And then finally, I mentioned the event that I was in. I was invited to attend the Educational Research and Development Institute, which is sort of a think tank experience of policymakers, U.S. Department of Education, sometimes tech providers, superintendents from across the country, sitting down. Some of the questions that we were asked to sort of think through is how to build trust in public entities like schools during a divisive time, how to create a writing culture in public schools when we seem to maybe have abandoned writing in our communications, how to create a community talent pipeline into college and career readiness to kind of meet those needs, those employment needs, and how do you manage student data to be more responsive. And then finally, I just want to give another thanks to Walmart. I know that might seem a strange partner, but really truly, when we came fully in the last 9 weeks of school, we never would have done it without the generosity of Walmart. Just giving us about 250 spaces a day for students to park and giving them an option if they didn't want to ride the bus. So just something I think the board, should acknowledge. That's my report.
Okay, next we have the approval of consent agenda items number 2 to number 10. just need a motion for that.
I'll second it.
Motion by
Or
Mr.
did I-
Ives,
Did I cut her off? I'm sorry.
and seconded by Mr. Lewandowski. Or was it? Are there any questions to those?
I was actually going to make it a motion to baseball.
Yeah, it's my fault.
All right, hearing no questions. Roll call.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yeah.
Ives,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Navarro,
Yes.
Travis, Lopez Caniva.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Next, we have the approval of the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2021 and 2022. Make that motion. Need a second?
Second?
A motion by Ms. Lopez Caniva, second by Dr. Shaw. Are there any questions to that tentative budget? Thank you, Ms. Croy.
Yes. For a second.
Thank you.
Getting the ball rolling.
Nobody's getting it going. All right. Roll call.
Ives,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Navarro,
Yes.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yeah.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. All right, next we have the approval of lease agreement for classroom space at the district special education program. You can make that motion.
Sure.
There's been a motion by Ms. Lopez Caniva, second by Mr. Travis. Are there any questions to that? All right, hearing none.
Shaw,
Yes.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Navarro,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yeah.
Ives,
Yes.
Travis,
Yeah.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. Dr. Huntington, she's not here, right?
She is not.
She is not. She'll have to let us know how the students react to the horse therapy.
Right, and that is also in reaction, just to remind board members, we're leasing space because we expect that the law extending our transition students, these are our students who work beyond, who stay with us for transition services previously until 21, now until 23, we'll have more students. And so they'll need some additional classroom space to do what they do. So just taking advantage of that space and at a nice place.
Yes, nice.
So it's a product of that, planning for that long.
And next we have the revision of policy 6:185, remote learning.
All right. Last month, the board might remember that there's been a brief review on some of the things that we've seen from the state superintendent's declaration regarding full in-person learning, which prioritized full in-person learning for all Illinois public schools, and really created a very narrow band, almost an impossible band, for any student to seek full remote learning. You might remember last year we ran a full remote learning academy using our teachers and Apex learners, pairing those two. And last year, any student who requested full remote learning by our deadline was able to do that. This year, very narrow band, really almost by the state, very difficult. So the only way that the board can actually permit that or allow that is through a revision of the current policy that empowers me to establish a remote learning plan. So what is in front of you is some work we did to present you with a revision to 6:185, a standing policy we have already. So let me explain three types of students that we're concerned about. You have a student who's on a 10 to 14 day quarantine, which will still be part of our operations this year. Students who have a personal medical issue. We had some speakers earlier on. They have an autoimmune disease. Maybe they're suffering from a childhood cancer, something that really puts them at risk. Might not make it safe for them to be vaccinated. They might be vaccinated, but still it's an unsafe situation. And then finally, students who have immediate household members who are in fragile medical conditions, and any kind of COVID that could come into the home could be very, very serious for those families. So as we approach that, there's really a couple different ways of approaching that. Students on 10 to 14 day quarantine don't need to be covered by policy because we'll provide quarantine support for them. And you might recall the board hired quarantine interventionists, teachers sending work home. We've got that, that's not necessarily in their policy. Students with personal medical issues are already covered on a separate policy. Policy 6:150 allows home and hospital instruction to set up a full platform for students who qualify for that medical. That only leaves not covered any student who has an immediate family household member who is at risk. And so, policy 6:185, if you approve this, would permit if they requested and qualified to have full remote learning. So all three of those groups would be covered if you approve 6:185.
Are you going to do that for the flu and everything else too?
So just questions from board members?
How about us?
Wow.
We have questions. We have some questions.
Yeah, just you at this stage, you're part of the board meeting, but this is a discussion for board
All right, well,
members.
good.
So I'm sorry, that's just how a Board of Education meeting is.
Sure.
So just based off of what I've heard here, this is just remote learning for people who opt for the remote learning
Who opt
option.
for that.
So this is not forcing anybody into remote learning. So this is for the people who would like to protect
Right.
people in their households or protect
Wanna
themselves
say,
based off of their beliefs.
I
It is
want to
not-
continue
yes.
schooling, but I want a full remote option.
Okay. And they have to have one of these designated reasons to do.
Right.
Okay.
So it's creating an opportunity for them to make that request.
Okay, thank you for that.
Otherwise, without, you already have policy that covers the child that has personal medical issue. So that's covered if they request.
Yes.
Who you do not have covered right now as a board is you don't have covered anyone who has a household member of their immediate family. So policy 6:1, a revision of 6:185, this revision would create that process.
Should someone choose.
Would authorize me to create that process for them, if they request it.
Yes.
If they say, I just need a full semester of remote, someone at home is
And
better
here's
than
why.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, the default is in-person learning, and then we're gonna make it,
That
if
is-
people request, they can do remote learning.
Yes.
Right, so that's a good way of putting it, Zion. It's a default, right? Right, but it is specifically, Mr. Itas, for these reasons, right? So what this creates is a very clear sense of what those reasons are.
Right.
That you could make the request for full remote learning rather than in person. And what this is actually doing, if you back it up even more, as board members know, Illinois has compulsory education, right? So failure to attend is truancy, right? And that would leave some families who might qualify under this revision, but want to continue education remotely. Where would that leave them? That would not leave them with an option. And as you heard tonight, a number of people presented medical issues in their homes and might take advantage of that, might apply and say, here's the situation, here's my family physician has said, it's not safe for my child because of someone in our household to go to school. So really only 6:185 provides us for that immediate household member, because everyone else is covered under other policies someplace else. I'm proposing it for approval now, and I know we don't usually do that. We talked about it last month. And it would be difficult for us, it would be impossible for us at your next board meeting on August 16th. We would need time to present this to families, walk them through the process. They would have to work with their physician. Some of these are processes that are already in place, like we've had homebound tutoring for a very long time, right, that policy. But it just, without board approval, authorizing me to offer them a remote program and a qualification process, we would likely run out of time right at the beginning of school.
Okay, School's already gonna start.
Right, school already started.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Motion by Mr. Lewandowski and seconded by Counselor Shaw. We've answered all our questions. We'll have a roll call.
Johnson?
Yes.
Navarro?
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Lewandowski,
Yes.
Ayes,
Yes.
Lopez Caniva.
Yes. Okay, now, it's going to be public comments not listed on agenda. A designated portion of the board meeting is set aside to hear comments on topics not listed on the agenda. A person wishing to speak must sign in and provide all information requested on the sign-in sheet, including the topic they will be addressing. The board president will call speakers up by name, announcing their time to comment. A time limit of 5 minutes per speaker per agenda topic will be imposed. The purpose of requesting such information on the sign-in sheet is to obtain the correct spelling of the name of the speaker and contact information, which will be used for any necessary board follow-up. And we do have one person, that's Mr. Fred Marino.
There's nothing like being the last speaker.
Save the best for last.
You get the final word.
The final word. My name's Fred Marino. I'm a 33-year resident here. I had no intention of speaking when I walked through the doors tonight, but I do want to commend the magnificent speakers that spoke tonight. And I want to thank you people for all that you do. I'm just going to give you a little background, and it's not so much my comments, but maybe my perspective, I hope, will help a little bit. I'm an inner city boy born and raised. I attended the Chicago public school. I had a passion for kids and decided to go on into the teaching ranks, so I hope that will bring some perspective. I've been a teacher for over 40 years. I'm retired. I was a football wrestling coach, teacher, counselor, dean of discipline, administrative assistant, and then assistant principal. I say that not to attach any status. That's not my intent. My intent is to bring perspective, and that's all I am. My topic's a little bit different. I don't have prepared notes for this. Everything that we do in education, everything, is to build up kids. I had the good fortune of having a son come through this school, had a wonderful education, and I guess my mission tonight is to encourage you and challenge you a little bit not to get into groupthink. As educators, I always thought that our job was we were hired, or we were to teach in our discipline, whatever that might be, math, science, U.S. history, and we're not to use the classroom or the school as a platform for social engineering. If I went to sleep and woke up after being retired for a while and saw what's going on in the schools today, I wouldn't believe it. I can't believe that we're now bordering on taking over parental rights. Our job as administrators, deans, counselors was to build kids up, not to do things that would ever divide kids, make them feel inferior, shamed, guilted in any way. It's to build them up and bring them together. Everything we did was that, and that took place within the classroom. You did that. If you were a teacher, you just didn't open up a book and go through the notes. Everything you did was to build that character, to build that into the classroom situation, and teach respect. Just some of the common sense things. I think we get into dangerous waters when we start teaching social engineering. So I'm encouraging you, don't get into groupthink. Be the one people that stands in the gap, always examining what you're doing and standing up for the kids. I've worked extensively with boards, and I'll tell you, I've just been blown away by the work that they did, by the sacrifices that you make. It's a difficult job, and it's a thankless job. But you're the guardians, you're the watchdogs, and it's not easy to stand in the gap, but you've got to do the right thing. So I'm encouraging you continue on. I heard Christina speak yesterday, and she said that she had examined what you're proposing in terms of the curriculum and things like that, and found no evidence that there's any movement towards that. But you're going to be challenged again. This is going to come up over and over and over again.
Yep.
And you've got to stand tall in that gap, and you've got to do the right things, because we're fighting for the souls of these kids. Sometimes I feel like Al Pacino in The Godfather. Just when I was out, I get sucked right back in. Once you get around kids, they're so amazing. And you can't quit. So I have no children in the school system, and I just came to listen. But once you're in administration, you get used to talking a lot.
Exactly.
But anyway, thank you very much for all that you do, and I encourage you to stay in that fight.
Thank you, Mr. Marino. All right, okay, next, we have our information reports, guidance services, audience use, and implementation.
Are you my clicker guy?
Yeah.
Awesome, Bill, thank you. So thank you for inviting me this evening. Not to be disrespectful, I might just kind of hang out and focus on